The last thing you want to be is look the same as a crowded room. You want to be a little bit of a misfit on this stuff and have a whole bunch of people say no or you're crazy early on. You might actually have something that's unique if that's the case.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the BizDev Podcast, the podcast about developing your business. I'm David Baxter, your host, joined per usual by Gary Voigt. What's up, man?
How you doing? It's been a nice little
I
vacation.
got my NC State shirt on today. Look, I am officially, this is the first time I've ever worn a t-shirt
College dad
is
instead of a
not
college
my
grad.
own, Texas A&M.
Hmm.
My son started NC State yesterday. Today was his first day. Got up at 4 and 8:20 class. I had to text him. I was like, "Did you make it?" He's like, "I'm numb, man." It was pretty cold out there today, but very exciting. So I'm sporting my gear. I've never bought any gear. I have to tell you, if you live in this area, and our guest, who I'm going to get to in just a second, he is from Raleigh or lives in Raleigh, so he understands it. When you live here, you basically have to choose a side. There's two main ones. There's Duke and UNC. But then NC State's kind of there, me too. And that's basically, we learned very quickly, you're choosing your friends. If you choose a side, then the people who choose the other side no longer, or will have to make fun of you. And it's just a thing. So we always were anti-choosing sides this for 20 years now. So to me, this is like a big deal that I finally chose my side because my son goes to here.
Now, what would happen if you wore that NC State shirt, but it was printed on a Tar Heels blue?
Oh, you probably both teams would punch you, if I were to guess.
Just because
Matt, would you agree with that? Would both teams punch us?
Yeah, I come from Boston, but the South here, specifically about basketball, you got to pick a side, and it's more than loyalty. It's a little sort of mania.
If you're from Boston, Patriots fan?
Oh, yeah. Even as bad as they are right now. We'll be back.
So I grew up in Connecticut, and Connecticut was you either picked the Giants, the Jets, or the Patriots. Yeah, so I picked the Patriots, and a lot of bad years. A lot of bad years in the 80s, the 90s.
I doubt. Yeah,
well, now we get, not that I'm I don't follow sports. It's just not my thing. But Bill Belichick is coming to UNC. That's like this huge thing, which I know who that is, but that's as far as I go. But everybody is like all in just uproar here.
That's because his girlfriend's enrolled there. She's finally old enough to go. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, nice. But what I heard
is take long for that one to come out.
Oh, he had to get his son a job is what I heard the real reason he joined. But it's like UNC football it's not really well known here. They're a basketball team. They're a legendary basketball team, but football, they're crap. So
they're about to be well known.
Yeah.
And now they're going to be
extraordinarily
well known. They're going to get
more coverage now than ever before.
No doubt.
Which is so weird. Like, that's just so interesting. Anyway. Those Bostonian tones you hear in the background are Matt Sheehan, who is our guest today, who is also the CEO of Exhale, which we're going to get to in a second. How are you, Matt? Welcome to our little show.
I'm doing great. The red looks good on you, and it's easier that way than taking the color in blue that everybody knows the difference.
I tell you, man, it took me about a year to really understand how intense that rivalry is. And I said, who's NC State's rival? And they're like, it's technically UNC, but UNC doesn't care. And I understand that because Texas A&M is the same way. Texas A&M's rival is UT. And this is growing up. It's been weird since the SEC, but growing up. But UT was OU, and Texas Tech thought A&M was their rival, but A&M didn't care. So it's this whole thing that no one's actually rivals to anybody. But now that NC State, at least for now, has a good basketball team, things are getting really weird. Like they got to the Final Four and beat one of the big, was it Duke or UNC? They beat one of them last year. So big thing. As I told my son, who's not a sports fan either, I was like, you're there in a good year because everyone's frothy about basketball at NC State. So you're going to be pretty excited. So we're going to go to a couple of games this year. So that'll be fun.
Cool.
Anywho, let's get down to why people are they're fast forward until we get to this part right here. Matt, tell me about Exhale. Oh, I got him right when he took a drink.
So timing is everything. So Exhale is the single point of contact for our members to call for everything and everything they need for their home. We believe that we're built on a few principles. One of the key principles is peace of mind. And so we strongly believe that we can't solve peace of mind across your entire life, but a big piece of stress is what happens in your home. And we believe that peace of mind will only really truly occur when you have a single point of contact for any and all services that you may need for your home. And when you have that, sort of aggregated single point of contact, then everything gets easier. And that's what has been in my head for, good Lord, I don't know, 13 years. And we launched 4 years ago, and it's going really so far.
So break that down for me. I have a house and I have an account with you, and then my sink breaks. I call you, you find me a plumber, or you have a plumber. How does that work?
Yeah, so we're a membership-based business, and when you sign up to be a member of ours, and you get access to a home manager, so not only do you have a company to call, you have a specific individual that you know very well. So let's just say Brian, who's one of our actual home managers. You'd text, email, call Brian, and you'd say, "Hey, Brian, a faucet, sink that needs help." He says, "I'm on it." And he'll usually say, "What sink?" Because he knows your home very well. "What sink?" "I'm on it." If it's one of our guys who can get there, who wear our jersey, then we'll be there really fast. And even if it's one of our subcontractors that are highly vetted, we'll get those guys out to you very quickly. But the days of going to Angie's List or the end of the internet to find a plumber or electrician or anything else, in our world, those are gone. And that gives folks back a lot of time. Not only do you bring in somebody that is highly trusted, we have all the subcontractors already vetted, and you get all that time back rather than hunting that under the internet for a plumber.
So how far does that go? I need a new bedroom. Is that too far? Or are we talking about maintenance tasks?
Yeah,
where does this?
The only place it ends is if you ask us, if you say we have land and we want to build a new home, I will put you in touch with 5, 6 really good builders. Other than that, we do it. And that's the point, is that we have done additions, several garages, we've torn up kitchens, and then we've hung a lot of paintings. We've tightened doors. We've installed pools, we clean pools. We've installed new front lawns. We take care of a lot of front lawns. So if it's under the sun on your property, we do it.
And you're paying a monthly fee for the privilege.
You pay a monthly fee to become a member. That's a membership fee. And then you also pay a monthly maintenance fee. So every home is different. I get called a misfit a couple of times because we love curated businesses and every home is different. So while the world of go to hyperscale, make every widget the same thing, I say the opposite. I say that's fine, but at a home, if you and I live next door to each other, the identical home, in a year, our homes will wear differently because we have different families, different styles. I have 1 dog, you might have 3, whatever the case is. And so we believe that you have to curate it. So you have the membership fee, and then you have a maintenance fee that's curated for your home. In other words, you might want a different kind of lawn service or frequency than your neighbor. And then that's fine. We can handle that, and we'll program that in. And that's the monthly fee that hits. And then one of the key insights we heard early in the business, which I did not expect, frankly, we had a lot of surprises along the way, which is fun, is that people don't love all the different payment mechanisms that they need to take care of their home. Right. There's cash, there's Venmo, there's ACH, there's credit card, there's all these different things. We put all of that on one umbrella, and it's the same monthly price every single month. And so we have made billing really easy for our members in order to give them peace of mind and time back.
If I don't have an ongoing service, is there still a fee outside of just the monthly fee? If you're not my lawn guy, I don't need a plumber this month. Do I just pay that basic fee, or do I always have that add-on fee?
You will always have the maintenance fee. So let's just give you an example. I'll just make some numbers up. So our membership fee in this area is $199 a month. So for that, you get a home manager, you get access to our technology, our trades. We'll do things like guardian care. We'll walk your home every other day for up to 3 weeks a year. That's included in the $199. Okay, so you have a suite of membership benefits. And then let's just say that you hire us for everything. Easy numbers, I'll just say $12,000 a year. Lawn, pool, house cleaning, HVAC, making the scenario. We divide it by 12, and it's $1,000 a month. So in that case, should you not ask us to fix something that's more on demand, it would be the $1,000 plus the $199, be $1,199 a month. And then you call us for anything else you need, what we call on demand, the more one-off tasks, and we'll add that to your next monthly bill. Fascinating piece is 1% of our invoices are opened and looked at. So that's weird. It's because everybody already expects and they know the number. We've taken that mystery out because we've spread it like peanut butter across the year, and we've decoupled it from the actual service. And that's a little insight that we found that has made people just giving time back and generates trust.
I have a
So
question.
from a business, go ahead, Gary.
So It sounds similar in a way to a home warranty company that you would pay a monthly or a yearly premium for, and then it covers a certain amount of things inside your home. Now, when it comes to the single point of contact, that's similar, but when it comes to the vetted contractors or people that work for you and instantly coming and having knowledge of your home, that's completely different, because it seems like the warranty companies are only there for basically seeing what they can and can't do and who can do it cheapest. So a lot of times they don't have the best reputation for coming in and fixing things quickly. But the idea of the service with the monthly fee versus a yearly premium, do you have, I guess, discounts on services added on because of that premium they're paying? Like, in other words, do they get like a lower rate for simple plumbing stuff if they're using a contractor through you?
Sometimes they do. Oftentimes they do. But we also bill ourselves not as the cheapest alternative in the town, right, or the city,
Right.
because our members want high quality first. And they want the sort of convenience of having a trusted expert and all that. But we're very competitive on pricing. If I can rewind, Gary, just for a minute, I always wrestle back against we are like home warranty. Bear with me for 1 minute. I'll tell you why.
Oh, and you should, because trust me, home warranty companies I don't hold them in very high regard. We've used them before, and I'm not a huge fan. So
I'll share a couple stats with you, but home warranty companies make money like most insurance companies are, and I credit them for having a good business model. They charge a premium, and they make money by doing as little work as possible on that premium. Okay, that's their gross margin. We're just very opposite. Now, you call us to change a light bulb. We love when you call us to change a light bulb. Doesn't mean we always charge for that, but our model is very different. That's one. Two is home warranty companies are generally very small in scope, like the systems and the appliances. We handle everything. So if a stair breaks, you don't call your home warranty company for that. You would call us for that. We have a lot of our customers who also have home warranty, but very different from that perspective. One, I believe Net Promoter Score is the one other sort of detail. Net Promoter Score is I think the best metric to use for a consumer facing business. We use it. I've used it for years. And ours just clipped 75, which we'll get into that in a minute, which is really high. Home warranties aren't even close. They're like in 15, 20 range. And so from that perspective, I think we're drastically different. If you do have a problem with a fridge and you have a home warranty program, you're lucky you have that. But most years you don't need it, and it's not really terribly noticed.
That's the only factors, like major appliances are in Florida here, AC and stuff like that, garage door stuff, like the bigger ticket items that will be covered seems to give you a little bit of satisfaction with having a home warranty, but a lot of the other things, they're more annoying than effective.
Yeah, I'd add one more point is we look at all those systems, garage doors, appliances, and we get ahead of them. So we're heavily proactive. And so we're trying to make sure you don't need that day. We never argue against you having a home warranty program, but if it's the garage door, let us look at it twice a year, make sure it's greased, it's tested, all that, so you don't have that day. And generally, we can do that fairly efficiently and low price, and it's not a problem. So we're, on one hand, very different than home warranty programs.
So where did this idea come from? You said it's been in your head for 13 years, so 9 years before you took the plunge. What was the instigator?
So just I'll weave the answer into with my background. So I was one of the early folks at Redbox. You probably still see them out on the sidewalks and in front of CVS's and Walgreens and so forth. So I was I was the 10th guy there. We were, 100 kiosks, $4 million business. I left it 6 years later. We were a $2 billion business. And when I left it, I said, hey, it's time for me to go look at other problems to solve. We're in a 100-year-old house in Chicago at the time, and we have a dripping faucet. I realized that day that my dad passed on the handyman skills to my brother, but not me. And so I messed around with that faucet for, I don't know, I 3 hours. I made it worse. And then what happened is I went into this little abyss of the internet trying to find a plumber to come help us. And I lost 2 days of my time, gone, because I had to wait for multiple people to show up. 3 people blew me off, just never showed up for the estimate. And 2 days of my time just went bye-bye. And my parents taught me that sort of time is our real currency. And so for me, it bothered me. And I'm still a pen and paper guy. And so I started to draw. And my wife knows that sometimes I'll go into a tunnel, I'll come out in 2 days. And what I came out with was, why can't we get ahead of this? And why can't we give people a dedicated resource for home management? And so that was the original idea. And then a publicly traded company out of Winston-Salem called, and they needed somebody to help turn the company around. It was named Primo Water. And so I had this sort of fledgling idea on home services that I need to go raise money. And then I had this publicly traded company calling, say, hey, can you come help turn this around? And I said, I guess we're moving to Winston-Salem. So that's what we did. So I put this idea on ice, if you will, until exited the water company about 7 years later. And I said the word retirement to my wife. Because we're on a podcast, I won't actually give you her response, but she chuckled at me, had a few expletives, and called me crazy. What are you going to do all day? Please don't be around the house, sit in my way all the time, which I appreciate. And so I started to dust off on all the comments and thoughts over the time that I had on home services. I realized it hadn't got all that much better. I give a lot of credit to Angie's List for digitizing the yellow pages. Amazing, right? It's a long time ago, and I think the world has matured and evolved a lot. And I don't believe 10 years from now that people will be managing all the disparate trades by themselves, because a lot of technology, a lot of subscription mentality has grown over time. And I think it's perfect for us and model we're bringing. So yeah, it sat on the shelf for 9. And then when my wife, frankly, gave me a kick in the rear end on go build something again, she's gave me the license to go hunt again. And that's what we're doing.
So where did you get started? Did you start with a tech platform? Because obviously people come to your website, they have a portal you mentioned. Did you start from let's go grab a bunch of trusted workers, handymen, plumbers, etc.? Like this, you're not handy yourself.
Right.
So you couldn't dive in and help people, because I'm the same way. I'm useless. How'd you get started?
Yeah, so I believe this is not my first rodeo, so this will probably be my 7th startup, or fifth startup over time. And what I've come to believe is you should build in styrofoam before you build it in steel, long before you build it in titanium. And the styrofoam idea is put as little investment in up front before you truly understand, or in order to understand if the consumer value proposition is right. So back in the Redbox days, just as an example, we would have these automated kiosk ideas, but the way we tested them was a person behind a branded table at a grocery store asking questions like, hey, would you trade in your unused gift card? We built businesses out of that. So it's a full circle, this idea. We put very little tech. In fact, the first 2 years of the business, we put a whopping $23,000 into tech. Everything was off the shelf. Because the idea is it's about people and trust. Tech will help. Tech will accelerate. But I believe that, frankly, a lot of the mistakes that have gone wrong in home services where folks said tech first, making a tech play, but actually that's not what consumers want. Consumers, at some cases, want an app, but a lot of cases, they want a trusted person they can call who knows their home. And so we're actually more of a service. I believe we're highly scalable. We're a service business powered by tech. So I call ourselves a tech-enabled service. Very little money in tech upfront. We have a couple core beliefs from a resource perspective. One is that people wearing our jersey should be home managers, so you're a single point of contact, and handymen. Those folks drive my trucks, wear our jersey, fully branded. Everything else is really expensive to get into, so we're going to outsource all that. But we're going to vet them proactively up front. So that's our team, is some of our folks wearing our jersey and our outsourced folks. Very little tech.
So how did that first year go? We call that first, when you get launched, we call that the slog. How did that go for you? Were you able to find those 17 or 20 homes, those first few homes, and it was really easy and you've just been running ever since? Or was it a bunch of who are you, go away?
Oh, it's a mix, man. When you tell people that you're building a membership model to handle all services under the roof, I call ourselves a misfit a little bit ago. They're like, you doing what? I don't understand. And sometimes still today we get that. And because it's not the first time we've gone against the grain or fought the status quo. And so every time you do that, you have more questions than you have people saying, oh, yes. More often than not, people say, where you been all my life now? Let's sign up. But still we get the, I don't understand. You're going to charge me every month for a dedicated resource, and we'll get them in time. So yeah, we certainly had a bunch of wine, a bunch of lunches, a bunch of, hey, let me go meet somebody new. We launched this business 3 months after we moved here. So the water company was in Winston-Salem. We moved to Raleigh. We picked this as our home. But I didn't really know anybody in Raleigh when we launched the business. As I'm sure a lot of entrepreneurs get challenged on their first market because it's home. It's not really home for me. In fact, I know a lot more people, it's probably still today in Boston, Chicago than I do in Raleigh. But yeah, it was a lot of organic talking to folks. And then we saw the referral engine start, right? Out of the first 17, I think 2 of them were referrals. We said, oh, that's a pretty good small subset, but a pretty good show of referrals. And then it started to take off after that. We've done very little marketing, a little bit of press here and there, a little bit of Google ad testing. And now we're leaning into some channels. But early on, the slog is a great word for it, man. And it is, you don't exactly know which way is right or which way is wrong. And you're going to give it a shot, test a lot, and trudge your way through. I love the slog. It's the right way to say it.
Big Pixel builds world-class custom software and amazing apps. Our team of pros puts passion into every one of our projects. Our design-infused development leans heavily on delivering a great experience for our clients and their clients. From startups to enterprises, we can help craft your ideas into real-world products that help your business do better business.
So where are you guys now? Are you on a runway? Are you self-independent, like you're making revenue and supporting yourselves? Where are you guys in that?
Yeah, we just
spectrum?
actually passed the profitability mark. We've done a lot of
Nice.
testing, and so that's a big moment for us. This is, in my mind, a very big business. I'm not necessarily a lifestyle guy, and so we're gonna go take a real shot at this and give it a shot to make sure it's big. So we had a long vision of that, and we sort of overhired early. We now have put more tech in than we probably needed to. And all that was because we believe we're going to go build a very big business in 40, 50 markets in the country. So to spend like we did up front to really give this a shot where it wasn't about utilization. It was all about testing. Then yeah, crossing profitability metric for us is a really big idea. We are now leaning into expansion. So we are having some regional or national conversations about expansion with channel partners. And the only reason we're there, back to the Styrofoam point, is because our net promoter scores got so high that I feel very good that, frankly, even if that dips a little bit, that will still support our vision of being the premier home service company in the country. And then our yield of walking a house and a home review. So the way our model works is you do a consult with, say, me, 25 minutes on a Zoom. I'll send somebody to your home, we'll do a home review. One of the important metrics on our business is how likely are we to get that member after we walk their home? And in the last 12 months, that yield is 76%. So when you have a 75% NPS and a 76% yield rate, while small, I think we've got enough going on in the positive up to the right direction than not. And I said, all right, now is probably the time to go. And again, not my first rodeo. That's a mistake I've made in the past, is either going too early. I see it all the time. People almost overbelieve in their business and they just go, and they get way out over their skis. We've tried not to do that, but I'm pretty confident now we have at least a majority of the solution, or it's time to go. So that's where we are now. Just cross profitability, having distribution conversations about what that might look like. And that's a really exciting part, because we have been in the slog. It's not just a year. It's several years where we're like, what the hell are we doing? And is this right? We just lost a customer. We screwed that up yesterday, but more in a positive than the negative mark. And we love the business and think we're doing something pretty unique.
So you've been lifestyle up to this point. You've been building it off your own savings or friends and family, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And
my wife and I put a bunch of money into to get it off the ground. And then we raised a small friend and family around 2+ years ago. So we brought in just about $2 million of outside capital, friends and family. And that's got us to this point. And then we'll be likely raising, if our distribution conversations, expansion happens, continue to go at the pace they are right now, then we'll be raising outside round here in the mid to near term.
nice.
Yeah, which is cool.
That's very cool. Yeah. I find a lot of startups, and they're usually younger, that's a mixed bag. I love the excitement of a young person, but I think it's often beaten by the experience and temperance of someone who's older. I'd say probably, and I've said this before, a big chunk of our startup clients are actually in their 40s or older. And I think that gets forgotten a lot. But so you've come at this, you've built it. Where I think it's so interesting and nice to hear is you've gotten all the way to profitability before you got any money. So many people, again, like the younger ones, that I have a great idea. I know it's great. Everybody tells me it's great. My mom says it's great. My buddy says it's great. It's great. So I'm going to go and raise money. And they're doing that like almost right out of the gate. Usually it's to hire someone like me. And we usually tell them, don't, like you were saying. We usually say, build the cheap Wix site to see if anybody cares. Then, and you can back that up with some money, a couple $1,000s here and there, some Google ads to see, again, does anybody care? Then you can build what we would call smoke and mirror site, which for us is a beautiful site, highly designed. It looks like it's a full-on company, but everything behind it is Airtable and some contact forms, right? And you're doing phone calls on the Excel spreadsheets, right? We recommend that. Usually can do for $10,000-ish, really high designed, some stuff like that. And then if that's working and people are still caring, and now you can sign up and make money, a lot, but you can make some. Now you can really start investing in those automated tools, which is where we come in, or you can do some low code stuff nowadays, even though there's some pluses and minuses there. And I find that people, they just want to jump ahead. I was talking to a guy today, actually, who we're going to be having on the podcast next month, but I was chatting with him. I've known him for 10 years, and I had an idea. And so he's a developer. So I built it, and he built it before he knew he had a customer. Cause it's just, I can do it. Yeah. I'm going to go and do it and then look up and see if anybody cares. And when you don't have the tech, I think that's actually an advantage, because you're going to go further before dropping big bucks on someone like me who you might not need me yet, right? Most two-sided markets, this is a classic, this is almost a three-sided market, but you're sticking yourself in the middle to be a third.
Yeah.
But you're connecting fixers with people who need things fixed. You can do most of that with a sales spreadsheet and a phone for a really long time. And people just skip right over that. And I couldn't encourage that more. So very cool. Obviously you did not follow my advice since I just met you, but it's very good.
Now, listen, you come to this with some level of wisdom, and I can tell you get a lot of gray. I got a lot of gray in the beard now. One thing is, we're fortunate that we've had a decent amount of success so far. And so we had the capital to give, but back when I was 25, I didn't have that. So if I had this idea, I would have been raising money early. I would have tried to get to the proof point as cheaply as I can, but I couldn't have got this off the ground like I have today. So that's true. Some of it is a necessity piece, but generally speaking, I 1,000% agree. Try to take the path of the least investment, just because you have investors, and once you have investors, you have some level of, hey, I owe them something in return. And it's a good burden to have, but it's a bit of a burden, and you have to show speed and things like that. So if you can wait, if you can't, I get it. And I have a 16-year-old son. I think he has a pretty good entrepreneurial mind. And I said, listen, back in the day, you had to be a certain age to be a CEO. I think that is changing now. If you're 20, 21, 22, go launch a business, but it doesn't mean you've had the ability to make the money to put it into the company. So that's why crowdfunding is fascinating to me recently. 10 years ago was nothing. Now it is a very active space. And I think that's really helpful for the overall economy. But generally speaking, build in Styrofoam as much as you can, or reduce your risk. You can do it faster. You can do it on your own, and then move from there.
So crowdfunding got really hot, especially in North Carolina, 8 years ago. Crowdfunding this, crowdfunding that. There were all going to be all these platforms, and all these states were getting involved because Kickstarter was there, and they wanted to make it more democratic so you didn't have to be an accredited investor, all this stuff. And I haven't heard much about it really since. Maybe that died out three-ish years after it got exciting. And then I don't hear about it hardly at all anymore. And it always seemed like a pretty viable way of getting money, especially when you don't have any, because most people don't have rich family and friends to give them money. And they don't want to do the bank for whatever reason. If you're 22, you don't have a choice. They're not going to give you
Banks won't give money anyway, right?
That's fair. So they go and end up in the VC space, which can be a pit of vipers or the best thing ever, right? But crowdfunding always seemed viable. But you're saying, but again, I haven't heard much about it. You're saying that's picking up steam. You're hearing more about that now?
I think I didn't know much about it until I started digging into it about 6 months ago. So this is still new for me. And I think it's much more active than any of us know. I think it's a small percent of the world who actually knows it's there. But to the point, oftentimes crowdfunding comes after some level of institutional. It's not just like an extended friends or family thing. So you might, in some cases, you do better in crowdfunding when you brought some institutional money in and you want to cap off your round, which means you got to go institutional anyway. So I think there's some pros and cons. I think it's much more than it was 10 years ago. But even me, I've run a few businesses and it was almost brand new to me 6 months ago because I heard about it, but it's much more active and people are raising not just 20 grand, like $25 million and things like that through crowdfunding. But I don't think their own PR is as good as it probably needs to be.
First, I think you just gave me a marketing idea. We're going to send out some videos with puppies and Sarah McLachlan songs in the background.
Please hire us to develop.
In the
We don't want to have to kill these puppies. Nice. Gary
Tell me how that goes.
But seriously, we're going to wrap this up with a question we ask everybody. Based on your experience, what would you say are the 3 best pieces of advice you can give to a startup or a new entrepreneur?
Yeah, there's a ton, but I think I'd probably narrow it down to 3. So the first I would say is passion is more important than intelligence. When I speak on stage, I always have this black slide and it's white letters, passion more important than intelligence. And I say that because I think in order to make these work and because the slog is often long and difficult, then you have to love what you're doing. And if you're doing it from a logic perspective, we all have to understand TAM and all that, but you better bring passion because you'll be up early and late, you figure it out, and you have to have the wherewithal to stand through those slogs. So I think that's number 1. Number 2 is find your center of gravity first. And so the way I have always done that is find your purpose, your values, and your vision. And when I was running a public company, I had an investor, we were going through a tough few quarters, and he said, real boats rock. And it was awesome. And when he said that, I realized that if you have a center of gravity, your business can rock a little bit, but you'll be okay if you truly understand who you are and are centered. And I think the last thing I'd say is be super thoughtful and fast about making changes, but be really sturdy on the stuff that means the world. And that sounds like speaking out of both sides of my mouth, but on one hand, like if a person isn't right on your team, move on them very quickly because they're going to destroy it. Be thoughtful about it, and then move fast. And then sometimes being stubborn, which my wife hates, by the way, because she calls me stubborn. I say, thank you, dear, for the compliment. That's not what I mean. I do think that we have to understand, we've got that generally right, but sometimes wrong, is where do you cut bait and walk, make a change, whether it's people, model, technology, whatever it is. Then sometimes, though, you have to be sturdy on what you believe in. And I just read a book by Mike Maples, which is Pattern Breakers. If you guys haven't read it, it's fascinating. It just came out a couple of months ago. And one of the things he says about the things that have become truly good are those that are right and non-consensus. He says because most of the really big ones got a lot of no's. So I say you missed it. We've got a lot of, what are you doing? Like you can't do that. You're going against Jeff Bezos' rule of just picking one category and you're doing everything under the sun for the home. I think you need to be sturdy in some stuff, and you're going to see stuff that the rest of the world doesn't see. And if you allow them to change you on that, you've lost the uniqueness. But you got to understand the difference between what you cut bait on and what you just take to the grave.
Love it.
If anybody wants to learn more about Exhale or about you, Matt, where can they reach out?
Yeah, go to exhale.com, and you can actually sign up time with me right on our website.
Easy
We'll
peasy.
put the link in the show notes too.
Cool. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Hi, I'm Christy Pronto, Content Marketing Director here at Big Pixel. Thank you for listening to this episode of the BizDev Podcast. We'd love to hear from you. Shoot us an email, hello@thebigpixel.net.